Hey everyone, Pixel Robots here again. In this video, it's just going to be a short one, not as short as my shorts, but a shorter one than normal. I'm just going to basically go over this cool tool called AKS Health Check by a company called BoxBoat. I've been recently helping out a bit, making it a bit better, so I thought I'd do a little video, a quick overview and everything. So let's get to it. So, right, I'm in a command line window. I'm using WSL Linux based one, and it's all good. So first off, what we need to do is basically pull down the container image and run it from BoxBoat. So I've got a command on my other screen for that. I'll just copy that and paste that in. So it's just a docker run command, IT to make it interactive terminal, using the host network, cleaning up, and then this is the container image. So it's GitHub container registry, BoxBoat, AKS Health Check, and we hit enter, and we should hopefully get a nice little bash prompt, which we do. Awesome. So we're inside the container now, and we can actually start looking at our AKS clusters. So first off, let me log into my Azure subscription using AZ login. So this will basically go off and start logging in, but because it's inside a container, we have to do the device login. So I'm just going to click on that, and in my other screen it will give me a login prompt which looks something like that. I'm not going to do it on screen because obviously there's bits on there I don't want you to see, so let me just log in and then pick the right account. I've got quite a few, so that will be that one, and I will continue that, and that's that logged in. Right, so hopefully here we'll see a bit of white text pop up, yellow text, talk about some stuff that I've got access to, which I will be blurring out. And then here's a list of my subscriptions. So I need to make sure I'm in the right subscription next. So for that, we're just using the AZ account set subscription and then my subscription name. So in this case, Microsoft Azure MVP sponsorship. So just hit enter on that. So now I'm logged into Azure and connected to that subscription. Next, I need to log into my AKS cluster. So just before this, I've created a new AKS cluster using the standard set of best practices that Microsoft offer with their new presets. So I've not run this yet on this cluster. So first off, let's get the credentials using the AZ AKS get credentials, resource group to name the resource group, and then the name of the AKS cluster. So I hit enter on that. So that will go off and log me into the AKS cluster. Let me do a kubectl get nodes to make sure we've got access, because we need access. And we do. We can see we've got one agent pull running, version 1.20.9. So now we can actually run the command to check the cluster, the health of the cluster. So for that, we're going to use AKS-HC, so AKS-Health Check, check all, because we're going to check all of their checks, and then we're just passing the resource group of the AKS cluster and the actual name of the AKS cluster. We hit enter, and this will go off and get the cluster information down. So it just fetches all the cluster into like a JSON format. And then it runs its automated checks. There are some checks that are not automated, but quite a few checks are automated. So let's just scroll back up in this list. So yeah, like I said, it gets the cluster information. It then scans for like if you're using managed identity on your pods, authorized IP ranges, blah blah blah. Lots of checks, lots and lots of checks. So this one here, Azure Policy and Azure Active Directory RBAC, they're two of the checks that I've put in recently, so I'm quite chuffed with them. First time I've ever actually even done any Node.js in my life, so I'm quite chuffed, really chuffed with that, to be honest. So yeah, it just gets all the namespace pods and everything as well, and just scans it all. We get a nice little BoxBoat logo in ASCII art, which is quite cool. Tells me I've passed 5 of the 27 checks, so that's like 19%, which isn't the best considering this is like Microsoft standard practice through the portal. So you'd expect it to be a bit higher, but yeah. And then obviously 21 have failed out of that, and there's still 32 checks that need to be performed manually. So that's actually quite a lot of checks. And the best thing about BoxBoat is there's a link here which will take you to a Google Docs sort of report document, and you can actually fill in it all and then use that to sort of tell your customers, tell your staff about the state of their AKS cluster. So that's really cool. So let's have a look at this little failure stuff. So we've got no liveness probes on quite a few pods and other bits and pieces. And then if we got a pass, like we're using, so we've got nothing running in the Kubernetes namespace, in the default namespace. So that's a pass. That's quite good. Let's have a little look down here. We have Azure policy is not enabled by default, and it should be. So Microsoft should fix that. And also the Azure RBAC isn't enabled by default with the standard thing, and it probably should be as well. So yeah, probably need to check into that and make sure you don't pick the standard best practices from Microsoft via the Azure Portal, because they're not the best. But yeah, use this, scan it. There's one here talking about Valero backup. So yes, if you are using persistent storage, it's good to have a backup solution for that. And should this be in here on every cluster? Probably not, but it's a good practice for you to scan it and then check it. So it's fine. And then we've got, all these other manual ones that need to be checked here. So that's really cool. I'm really liking it at the moment, to be fair. It's a good starting point to check your cluster, see where you can improve. Obviously, not all of these will be applicable to you. You might not always want to run the backup, and you might not always want to run a service mesh. So don't take it all as gospel that these are 100% best practices and you need to have all of them, because you don't. But it's a good place to sort of audit your current AKS cluster and go from there. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm happy to keep giving back and trying to make it a better product, because I think it's definitely worth a bit of time and investment. So with that said, why don't you go out, have a little play? I'll put a link in the description to the website where you can actually go check the README and everything. Actually, in fact, I will bring it up on screen now. So we actually have it here. So just BoxBoat AKS Health Check in GitHub. Let me zoom in a bit. And yeah, it's just anyone can contribute to it. It's open source. Got the instructions on there as well. We've got a link to the Word document that we talked about. So it's just a nice little report. You can fill in the blanks, like if it's passed, failed, the reason why, stuff like that. Yeah, it's just got all of the stuff here, how to run it and what checks are there and everything. Oh, and actually, thinking about it, here, for example, it only shows found 2 pods without liveness probes, but it doesn't tell you which pods, and you'd think it would. So what you can do is when you run the scan, if you just put a -v at the end for verbose, hit enter, and it will go off, do the same checks again, but we'll actually get a bit more information. So as it's going through, it's going to check all of the pods. It's checking all namespaces as well. You can actually ignore namespaces by using -i and then the namespace name with a comma after each one. But if we scroll back up, we should see, look, we've got the pod name. So it's in the kube system, Azure IP, MASQ agent, kube proxy doesn't have a liveness probe and everything like that. So we can actually filter out kube system namespace. So the next scan, it wouldn't be as bad. So that's quite cool. And we can even, like, you can ignore all of these namespaces really, because they're just the default ones which we can't control anyway. So definitely worth going and have a look, have a little play. Let me know what you think of it, and if you've got any feedback, open up an issue. If you want to contribute, open up a pull request, and just, I'm really excited about this. I hope you are too. And with that being said, I've been Pixel Robots, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.